Go ahead first, Kyle. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Kyle Gunderman. I am the infrastructure manager at Griswold Public Schools, basically IT manager. My daytime job is to keep the network running, and that includes, you know, servers, wireless, phones, anything that's on the network. It's my purview to keep it working. And I'm one of our co-coaches for our esports team, leading more in the direction of with our shoutcasters and content creators and that end of it. Um, Part of that's because, like I said earlier, I've been part of this regular sports streaming and streaming in general throughout the district.
I'm Jim Rand. I am the teacher or a teacher here at Griswold Public Schools, Griswold High School. I'm also an esports coach, and I've been, really looking to build this program for a number of years now. And finally, we had the opportunity in the last 12 months to be able to build this room you see behind me, which we call the Nexus. And Kyle and I both were able to drive that program into, what is now going to become, I think, a full school, during school and after school program for esports, animation, coding, a number of high-tech initiatives that we're trying to push here at the high school.
So I'm Josh. I am a freshman here at the Griswold Public Schools.
What games do you play on your esports team?
Valorant. Basically play Valorant.
And what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to do something with computers, but I'm still unsure what yet.
Tell me how the program got started at your school and what was the driving factor to really get it started?
This whole idea got started a couple of years ago in the early part of 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit, things kind of got, out of control. And so the whole project was shelved at that time. But fast forwarding about a year or so, a little less than a year, I was approached by the administration here to build this room, and we had the opportunity. It was a one-time opportunity, really. We were given a certain budget. We were given a number of parameters they wanted to fill, and we tried to build something that was going to be useful for a number of different fronts. One of them being esports, but the others being coding and animation, possibly CAD, to be used in the room as well. Once the room was built, this last fall of 2021, we began the process of creating our esports team, and that's the first stage of what we're doing. So we played Rocket League and HSEL last fall. We had a great season. It was our first time ever playing anything here. There aren't too many other schools in our area. We were in Eastern Connecticut. There aren't really a lot of schools that have esports teams. There are a few, but we're pushing it to the point of trying to make it a core sport here at the school. So that process began in the fall, and now this season we're expanding into a number of different games. So Josh is a Valorant player. He's been helping on the Valorant team. Behind me we have the Minecraft team. They're actually queued in and playing right now. So there's a league match going on, which is why I kind of have them in my monitor so I can watch what's going on. I'm really interested to see how they do. But we've also expanded into Halo. We've expanded into chess. We tried to give as many different opportunities for students as possible to play. And the goal is not just to create an esports room. I mean, I want to be clear on that. We decided early on in this project, we were going to make it versatile, try to get as many, honestly, career-based skills invested into this program so that kids can not only play games, but learn some of those higher tech, what employers want. They're trying to learn the higher tech components that I think will benefit them in college and career readiness down the road.
What's difficult about, or what's easy about what you do when it comes to this many high-powered PCs in a room or in a facility, internet?
Luckily, the room that we built in was a generic computer lab in its prior life. So we have, you can't see it in Jim's shop, but there is actually, what our buildings are set up, we have a main distribution room, but then we have different ISR closets, and there happens to be a wall-mounted one right in that room. So it's got fiber right to our backbone, and then the copper right there, switch in that room. I'm able to tweak the settings for those PCs to be allow the not technically quality service, but they do get bandwidth priority. So if we are playing at 4 and something else is going on campus, we're going to get the max bandwidth we can without shutting everybody else down. And the hardest part in essence was when we were doing this last spring was actually finding PCs and parts. I initially wanted to buy the parts and have the kids build the PCs, but it was not guaranteed that we're going to find. We actually did a lab in our middle school, so it's 42 PCs total. We aren't going to guarantee that we're going to find 42 NVIDIA cards, all the same model. And then when I looked at the pricing, the parts were actually almost 20% more than just buying. We got Dell G5 gaming PCs, and they came in about 80% the cost of the parts. So it's not exactly what I want to do, but based on supply and what we had, it worked.
And have you talked with other coaches or IT professionals that in Discord or other mediums about the struggles or the benefits of being in this space, whether it be about bandwidth or cost of devices? What have you heard around the country or around your area of other folks doing esport programs?
The first one is a local school that actually kind of mentored us in our beginning stages. They were very envious of us, right, Jim? Because they kind of play on the PCs that are in the robotics lab in their school. So they're sharing a space and when they can get access to it. So I haven't really touched base with anybody that has a designated space for their esports team. And just the fact in Connecticut we have what is called Connecticut Education Network. So we have a guaranteed 500 meg pipe to the internet, and it's not limited. So if we burst above that, they're not going to stop us. So we have pretty much all the bandwidth we need based on that, and that's pretty nice that Connecticut has. They've always had that program as long as I've been at the school.
Yeah, and one thing to note, some of the other local schools that are here have, they thought about going into esports. Let's be honest, there are some barriers to entry when it comes to the technical part of it. And the decision that a lot of schools have to make, what I'm finding, is whether you play from a lab or play from home. We're firmly in the play from lab camp because we built this facility for that purpose. But for those schools that don't have access to that, you still can create a team. But I think when you have kids playing at home, creating that team, there's something lost in translation there. You don't quite get the same teamwork. You don't get the same effect as when you have everybody in the same room being able to practice. So, I think as schools begin the process of creating more programs, and I see that, in the next 5 years, I see many more schools jumping in. I think that's going to be one of the critical decisions that they have to make. How do we handle the concept of, the needs that we have here with infrastructure, the needs for staffing, and then also the ability for kids to be able to come to one place regularly and be able to practice and play at a high level, if not an elite level, if you want to go to the college or pros.
Josh, when did you hear about this program? What got you interested in being a part of this esport club?
Mostly because I've played video games before, like for almost all my life, like since I was about like 3 or so. I kind of knew of it when I at the end of 8th grade, I'd say. Most people were talking about it, and I was like, "Ooh, that sounds kind of interesting." So I decided, hey, I should probably go for it.
Did you have friends that were joining as well, or did you meet most of your friends through this? Or
I had some of my friends that were thinking about joining, but they didn't. Some did.
And have you found any new relationships, friendships through this esports and gaming club?
Yeah, I would say a couple.
When you think about your next couple years in high school there, what are some goals you might want to accomplish around the gaming club?
I'm definitely going to want to go to college. For what I do not know yet, I'm going to have to think about that soon, actually.
So you said you play Valorant. What character do you use the most?
I usually use Raze.
And so are you pretty cracked? Are you pretty good?
I'm not too bad. I'm decent.
Where do you guys see the program by the end of this year, and what do you want to try and accomplish for the next year?
Our goal is to make sure that we have a team that's competitive in the league, and one of those is going to be to change the way that we do practices. We've already had some discussions about, right now what we're doing is what each night is a different esport, and we're running that over the course of a week, but I don't think that gets enough practice time in. So some of that's going to have to change. But more importantly, on the other side of it, we're looking to invest in the daytime programming in the school. And what I mean by that is the gaming concepts curriculum that HSEL has published. We have intent to put that into the school over the next few years and roll that out as each of the different, I know that they have a 2 and a 3 that's on the radar to come out. We're going to be looking to put that into place in addition to the team. And then outside of the esports ecosystem, but related to it, again, the coding part and the animation part, I think both are huge. Both of those lead into game design, game creation. And if I had a longer term vision beyond, the first year or two, I think some of the local colleges, we're in Connecticut, so UConn is a likely partner. Some of the colleges are partnering to do early college experience ECE programs. One of them that I've looked into is whether or not we could have students create a pipeline here in the school to learn those skills and then move on to UConn, which has a very robust program there at their school. It's still too early for us to start doing that, but I think that the pieces are all falling into place to actually create that. For me, that would be huge because that gives students a clear vision, literally from when they leave middle school all the way to when they walk into high school, of a tech pathway that they could take. And many of them have expressed interest, at least to me, that it might be something they could look at, either game creation, game based learning. I think is really the place to be right now, and I do think that it's going to be just more embedded in curriculum in the coming years.
So I'm hoping that, along with my regular sports streaming kids, that have actually, during the last year and a half, since we had a lot of events that couldn't have spectators, I actually had kids finally working with me more. So I actually have a crew of about 6 to 10 kids that show up for different jobs. And last season on our Rocket League team, we had some good shoutcasters, and trying to bring them together and just build that more into I don't want to say a broadcast curriculum, but at least a broadcast club where they can get more formal learning and training, that part of it. Because I found out just a couple weeks ago, one of the kids was doing color commentating in our basketball games. He told me he's looking at URI or Syracuse to go for sports broadcasting now. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I'm hoping that, and also one of the other possibilities going down the road, maybe looking. I'm not a teacher. I'm not certified. I'm IT behind the scenes. We've been talking that maybe there'll be some IT type computer classes, whether it's A+ certified, that kind of classes that we could build to, and Jim would be part of that potentially, but that would be a whole nother stream of the curriculum that we don't currently have. That would be right up my alley, and I like that idea.
For the people out here who don't know particularly what's going on behind your head there and what all these screens are about, give us since you're going to be teaching, it sounds like next year, can you give us a little 2-minute rundown of what's happening?
Well, right now behind me I have our stream monitoring software. I'm running vMix, and the kids playing behind Jim, we're pulling in their screen captures using NDI across the network, inputs right into vMix, and I just got a quad square showing the 3 screens the kids going on. One of my content creators, he created a bunch of overlays for each of the games that we play, and so he's got an overlay for Minecraft that has the HSAL logo, our logo, and a Minecraft kind of looking logo for the player's name in the record. One of the computers, it wasn't pulling that overlay because they do that through OBS, so I'm actually catching in NDI output of OBS to bring into the vMix to stream to another OBS machine that can put the 3-minute delay, because vMix can only do a 2-minute delay.
And you're streaming it to a platform right now somewhere, or you will? And what is that Twitch channel URL?
Twitch.tv/Griswold Sports Network.
That's right. Like and subscribe. Right, Josh? Josh, when it comes to gameplay and everything else going on, are you a streamer? Are you a content creator at all?
Well, it depends by that, because I don't really stream much here, and I haven't streamed at home in a while. I do content creation, I do video editing, I do coding every now and then, I guess.
Do you have a group of people in your gaming club that you play with regularly, or is this like your squad and you guys all play together, or do you rotate out?
No, they all switch to different schools, so like I'm basically just playing through them with Discord, because why not?
Jim, what are some things you're telling your students about college and career readiness?
We're looking at the curriculum right now to get passed by our local board of education before we go too far into that. But I have told the kids that they need to look at different career options now, and particularly if you're going to go into tech, you need to think about where you want to go. The advice I always give to students is think about not just what kind of money you want to make, but think about what kind of lifestyle you want to live. If you want to be somebody who travels a lot, or you want to be somebody who stays local, or work in a school setting, or you want to work in a business setting, those are the kinds of things I think at the high school level you need to start thinking about, and then start tailoring your educational choices based on what you want to get out of your career. I mean, that's always the advice I give to students. For STEM and STEAM, because we with the animation part, we're hoping to push STEAM here. I think we have a little work to do left on the pathway of how we're going to get students again into that college readiness piece. All of the different components are there, but I think until we have everything, all of those pieces in place, it's kind of hard to know how that evolution will play out. But students, I think, based on the feedback I'm getting when I talk to students asking about it, I think the feedback is that this is a welcome addition to our program, because it gives them, the tech skills and the experience that, again, we wouldn't have had minus this room and the programming that's coming in. It's going to be a very positive change, I think, for our school, and I'm hoping honestly that it's more for the local region as well. Some of the other schools that I've talked to that have programs in place have looked at our room and are starting to make some decisions on their own. And if they can also bring to their students, an increase in STEM, an increase in STEAM opportunities, that only benefits the region, and it really makes our state, our locality much more competitive when employers are looking for skilled employees. They're going to look to see what kind of educational background they have. We're hoping to be able to provide this step, in their careers for that.
Jim, tell me what's going on behind you a little more in more detail.
And this is the Nexus. This is our home lab that we play from. Right now, these players are involved in a Minecraft match, which is part of the HSEL tournament for Minecraft. So they queued at 4 o'clock. And then we play in that queue, remembering that we're an East Coast team. So we always look to get that queue on the early side of the day, because the later queues are tougher for the East Coast teams. But I also had earlier in here, my Valorant team was practicing. On other nights of the week, we have the Halo team and the Rocket League team in here as well. So this room is used for a number of different purposes. One of the other things to remember is that by making this a multi-purpose room, it also opens up opportunities for others to be able to use this facility. There's been discussion about other teachers using it for their particular programs. There's also been discussion about some of the STEM and STEAM stuff we're talking about. But we've also been approached by somebody about potentially hosting a tournament here. So it's exciting to think that this room provides that kind of a direction for us. But it does appear that it's got a lot of people interested in what we're doing. Matter of fact, we had an interview with the radio station this morning as well, and so people are taking notice about what opportunities we have at our school now.
Kyle, is there any strategical upkeep with all this, not just esports, but the multi-purpose use of all these computers?
Funny you should ask that. It's actually, I've got to rethink my paradigm of how I manage computers, because normally I just re-image them, every summer, and from a fresh, pristine image and or updated during the year, and push out software that needs to be there. Most of the games, like Epic Games, I can't push. I have to do a manual install. And I've talked to different support at HSEL and some of the game people, and a lot of people are like, yeah, we're trying to figure out. So after I re-image them, I'm going to have to sit down and install each game engine, whether it's Epic Games, whether it's Riot Games, and then let the kids install the games from there. I do think for most of them, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, if you notice, once I install on one PC, I can technically take that directory and move it to the other ones, and when it goes to install, I'll just find the files and be okay. So it's not like I have to do it on all 21 machines, but it's a little different than what I normally do to maintain computers on district.
How are the devices holding up? How are all these graphic cards holding up with all this extra use?
So far, so good. I mean, they're Dell G5s, they're i9 processors, 32 gigs of RAM with a 3060 Ti in it. So they are more than we need for the games we have, but hopefully they'll future-proof for at least a year or two. The room's holding together pretty darn good for the most part. Last semester we had, I think, 5 total classes out of an 8 possible classes going through there, plus our esports afterwards. And we have a enhancement block at the end of the day. It's like 34 minutes, and on Friday they do activity, so that every Friday there are gamers in there. Last year was like an open lab. This year we're using for practice time with our team. So it's got pretty decent use. Next year we'll even get more as they add the more curriculum on. I'm not shocked, but I am a little surprised at the quality of where it's at. Because in general, our PCs we probably have during a year somewhere around 1 to 2% breakage. So I should have had at least one of the machines die this year, and it hasn't yet.
Josh, any last thoughts here you have? What kind of game do you want to see? Do you want to see like a really cool FPS next? What are you excited about for the next game coming out?
I want to see a nice VR game for once.
Jim, last thoughts or comments about anything else you want to cover?
If anyone's thinking about starting an esports program, I mean, I would just say go for it. I think that it adds an incredible amount of value to a school to have a program like this. And a couple of words of advice I would give: first and foremost, make friends with the IT people in your school, because it makes this entire program, they're the backbone of a program like this, and it can't be stated enough that you need to have them on your team. But beyond that, think about, if you're designing a room like we did, or even if you only have a partial room, think about what you can leverage in the room to make more than just esports. I think a lot of people have this perception that esports is just kids playing games, and they don't really understand all of the technical part of it. They don't understand all the skill sets that go with it. So to make the case for it, make as much of an impact on your curriculum and on your school's overall tech ability when you are making the decision to put in an esports team. It comes together as a package. And if you can do that, I think that you can have a really powerful program put together.
Well said.
I just want to echo what Jim said about the IT. Being from IT, there are so many times, because by default, we're very restricted in what kids can do during the school day. So trying to open up all these games and not realizing that this is the domain for the game, but you've got this other domain for the game updates. There's a lot of different things. And if you don't have someone working actively with you like I do, you need to at least be on a friendly thing so you can get that done, resolved, hopefully that day that you find the problem, if not sooner. That's the nice thing. I can be in there when we're practicing at 2:30. We realize we've got some kind of technical issue I can have fixed before the 4 o'clock cue. So if you have any chance of getting your IT on board and someone available, I think it makes a huge amount of difference.
So once again, where can we find you on Twitch? Do you have any socials we can also go like?
Twitch is Griswold Sports Network is the channel name.
Yeah, Twitter is at Griswold Esports, and there are links in there to the Twitch account as well. And we tend to go live whenever we have sometimes we'll just do practice sessions here and we'll have students go live, but we try to get as much broadcast experience with that as well. So we're on multiple times a week during the on season, and hopefully we will continue to grow our presence there. We're really looking for kids to benefit and experience what we have to offer here at the school.